Okay. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I feel like this one is a really important meeting because our goal is to talk through how you can get the most out of your coaching experience with these coaches. A lot of the athletes come on and we talk about this on our introductory call. And at first, all the athletes like do the things that we say, hey, these are the things that are available to you. And then there's some sort of drop off that happens along the way. And we do find like the athletes that do keep improving are the ones that continue to follow through on all the items, because the sport is one that there's always something that can be improved upon and might be addressed slightly differently as your skill changes. And so this is just like a refresh of what is available to you. Make sure the processes are correct and you're utilizing your coach and your team to the best of your ability for you to then hopefully reach your goals that you've set out with your coach. I'm going to break it up in segments. So we have tons of coaches on here. I'm kind of leading the call today, but I'd love any of the coaches. If you have anything to add to what I say, put your hand up and then I could know to come to you. So first of all, our goal to start is for you to have consistency in your training. And so where you feel good when you're supposed to feel good, obviously you can't feel good all the time because maybe you had a big training day and the next day is just like an easy recovery day. So of course there's going to be a little more fatigue, but for the most part, you should actually feel good every day, especially for the work that's set in front of you. In that, you really need to nail down your schedule with your coach. And so what that means is communication. What is your exact availability to train? You know, what are the days that you can best get to the pool, can best get to the gym, whatever it may be. What if there is meetings on a specific day that you know you're specifically stressed out or specifically long day, well, maybe that's the day you communicate to your coach, this is not a good day for me to do any hard workouts. This is the day for me to do just mostly aerobic or recovery or only one session, and everything else gets moved around. If you're traveling, make sure to notate that for your coach and well ahead of time if you can, because we like to do specific training blocks if we know we're not going to be on the bike for like a week. You know, we have Alice, for example, that we coach, and she's going to take, she's not going to be on a bike because she's going to go skiing. So we're doing a specific bike block where when she's off the bike for those couple days for a trip, actually it's a wedding, Alice, so let me speak correctly. I hope I could say that. Then she can deload from that training block, come back stronger from it. So as much as you can plan ahead, you can go into Training Peaks, you can mark off your availability. And then in that, you can also say, I have an hour a day, I have access to this, this, and this. And then you guys have a chat about it. You know, a lot of my athletes that do have maybe these extended trips where there's a break in their training, we might even set up a 15-minute call so that we understand what we're doing and why. And so you don't freak out that you're missing training and you have a kind of confidence that it's not going to derail your progression moving forwards. So really communicating well on that. As things come up as well, make sure to communicate that to your coach. So maybe the kids get sick, things need to be moved around. Don't just move the session you missed and move it to the next day. And maybe now you're doing 3 hard sessions back to back. It's kind of common sense for us, but for others, they're like, no, I just got to get it in. And it usually actually sets us back because then it's too much training load. And then we look back on it and this is why we're sick later on or we're getting injured later on. So definitely if things need to be moved around, I would definitely communicate it with your coach. And then you'll come to learn how we would move things around. So maybe it's just an easy swim or easy run. Well, sure enough, that can easily be switched. But anything hard, I would recommend just going to your coach from that. And then the thing I tell our athletes is that, you know, each of you have a different availability to train, where someone is coming in and they're like, I just have 12 hours to get ready for this Texas 70.3 a week. That's all I can allocate. I need Sundays off. And the other, another athlete is like, I have 20 hours available. And so our goal is to maximize your time available. And if you find on certain days that you have more time and you do have a willingness and your body's able to handle the load of more training, we certainly don't want to hold you back on that. And so it might be something that you come up with your coach as things change on how to add in the training load or reduce. And then, or talk to your coach if you do have a window of time. I kind of give free rein to my athletes that if you find you have 30 minutes, jump on the bike, have a spin, or go spend extra time in the pool. I think most of us have a sequence of swimming 3 times a week, but frequency is so key on really developing feel for the water. So, hey, if you're at the gym and you can swim for another 30 minutes, that's usually something that you have free rein to go and add to your program. Okay, coaches, is there anything I missed on availability and scheduling? Anyone wants to add? No, covered it all. Okay. Something I like to do when I was training myself is at the end of every single week, I would take inventory of how the week went. So maybe you have a sequence of you swim first thing on Monday, and then after work, you do mobility. Pay attention to how you felt during those sessions as far as your energy levels and your focus levels, and then pay attention to how you felt the next day as well, because that matters. And at the end of the week, do things need to be shifted around? Maybe it's actually best served for you to just like do them together, and then you have more recovery time before the hard workouts the next day. Maybe it's best served for you to do mobility first, and that helps warm you up and gets you focused for the swim after mobility. So keep shifting things around until you feel like you are showing up for every single session with 100% as best you can energy and 100% focus. That is the ideal goal at the end of the day. Outside of the training schedule, take inventory on like the things that support recovery and these specific training sessions. So the 2 easy ones are sleep. How are you doing with sleep? Is there anything that needs to be adjusted into your habits for you to sleep more? You know, maybe less screen time or go to bed earlier. Like write down those little goals, because we are always so quick to write down goals in our training. But just it's amazing how if you write down goals in, I'm going to get 1 more hour of sleep, I'm going to add in activation before my session, or a little bit of mobility here and there, all of a sudden your performance goes through the roof with all these accessory things that we kind of put off to the side. So fueling is another one. How did we do? What needs to be adjusted? A big one late in my career that became extremely important was developing the ability to focus in each session on what is the intent of this workout, and can I keep my mind there for the entire session? I felt like I drew so much more out of that session, and I would have to spend like 5 to 10 minutes of meditation time to just learn how to calm my mind, and that in turn taught me how to like lower my heart rate, and now I could push more power, run at a higher speed just through that practice, and then in turn, you know, the result was much better fitness. So little things like that, the activation, spending 5 minutes before, or 10, ideally more, but activation, rolling out, etc., pre-workouts goes such a long way, especially if you are someone that is injury prone, or you think that it just, your body takes a little bit longer to warm up, it's a little creakier. As we get older, like I could not work out unless I spent 15, 20 minutes before a workout doing those things. And then I use meditation practice during those activation sessions. Anyone want to add? Any hands up for coaches? No? Okay, I'm covering it all. Seeing on my notes here, because I'm moving through it pretty quickly. Okay, what other support do you get outside of those things? So athlete comes on and I tell them, you know, if you need help with your fueling, we're going to advise you specifically how to fuel your workouts, be it an hour endurance ride or a really hard race specific session or VO2 max session. We do have a cheat sheet and example meals in our Front Pack app. Quick show of hands, by the way, who is on the Front Pack app? Okay, awesome, good. Yeah, please utilize that. I'm really excited. I've been seeing some of you guys, just total aside, some of you guys like answering the questions, and we're getting to know your personalities. And I just think that just is so fun. So when we actually start to see each other at races or at camps, we feel like we know you already, and versus like starting a relationship from scratch. And then there's going to be so much else that we're going to do there. So please, if you're not there yet, start getting integrated into the app. I'm really excited about it. Okay, that was a complete side note. So fueling, gear, I don't think a lot of people really use their coach to make sure that their gear is optimized. And so you just kind of run through everything that you have. If you have questions from your swimming gear, do I have the right fins? What other goggles do you suggest? My goggles keep fogging up. What should we do? Well, we can answer that for you. So like any issues you feel come up, like let the coach know, like we have an answer for you. There's so many little things. So sometimes we miss what we would consider a basic thing unless you ask us that we haven't told you. So please do that. I would say the biggest thing to make sure you're optimizing is your bike. There are a lot of things as it pertains to the tires that you use, or just the setup and your bike fit, where your water bottle is set up. You know, if you're someone that really is after optimizing their position for speed, I would say everyone here is performance driven to some extent. Use your coach on that, and they can best advise you, or they can get someone to help advise you on how to prepare. Outside of that, I'm just thinking of the other things we can use. You know, run shoes. If you have questions on that, please do that. Race day gear, wetsuits, etc. Form. You know, so many times we say, hey, please send us form videos. And I'll get a form video from someone where I can see them swim from the front, from the side, and I'm able to say, this is the thing you need to fix. And I try not to say 5 things because that becomes super confusing. So in order for us to keep progressing, you need to keep sending us videos. So I'll give an example. An athlete will send me a video. I'll see them swimming from the front. I'll talk about head position and say, okay, let's fix that. Send me a video in a week's time. Or when you feel like you fixed your head position in the pool, then we focus on the next thing. Yeah, Ashton's saying take advantage of form videos on the bike run also. Yes, we're going to get there. Yeah, we'll fix one thing, and then we'll focus on fixing the next thing. And then everything we can see outside of the water, which is literally like you propping your phone on a water bottle and swimming so you can do it yourself, swimming towards your phone, we can actually see a lot. And then after that, we need to get underwater footage. And so once we've fixed everything we can see over the water, if you can invest in someone like a waterproof case just to film some underwater footage directly from the front, ideally, and directly from the side, that is ideal. If you have someone who can film you, we also like to see from the top. That's very helpful as well. If any of the coaches want to add into what other views they like to see of their athletes. No, nailed it. Okay. And then cycling, us being able to see your bike fit, the way you pedal. I often have athletes send me footage from the side, footage from the back, footage from the front. And there's a lot we can see just in the way that you are pedaling, and then we can advise on maybe another way to think of your pedal stroke. And this is not even part of what your bike fit looks like, but that's a whole nother angle to it. So utilize your coach for that. Let me see what else I have. When it comes to race day, Dan, you have a question. Give me a break.
Hi, sorry about that. Sorry to interrupt, Natasha. Do you mean for the bike, can we do it on the trainer, or do you want it outside, or both, or it doesn't matter?
Yeah, I mean, and obviously the trainer is going to be the easiest, and we can see a lot from the trainer. So Chris has his hand up.
Yeah, just for that, the best thing for me when I look at someone on a bike is ideally I ask them to film it in slow motion, because it creates a more crisp image, and it allows me to watch it in slow motion, and I'll also watch it in reverse as well, and always film it horizontal. So if you film horizontal, where you can get your whole body in it from the side, and I can see the full length of your pedal stroke. So you don't want to cut it off at the bottom of the pedal stroke, because sometimes that's the most critical part, or an aspect that's important to see, is to see how your foot finishes your pedal stroke and how it comes up. So try to get the whole body in from the side. To me, I think the sides are the most important, but front and back is too, in case knees are coming in or knees are going out. So there's a lot of things that's really valuable in that.
Perfect. Thank you for that ad. That was very important. Okay. The other ways you guys can utilize your coach is if you don't know how to pick races, you're not sure if you should add in this B race or C race, or just the overall arching schedule for you to work towards your A race, please get with your coach on that. They're there to help advise you. We always put out a race preparation, race strategy email to you guys, where you're supposed to fill out how are you going to fuel, how are you going to pace, how are you going to address what ifs if they come up. And most of our athletes, like 80%, don't do that. I would say like that is so critical. Ideally, most of you actually know what you're going to do because it's been addressed in your training well ahead of time. You've practiced it over and over again. So I think for you, that you think this is just an extra step, and it is, but I can promise you it actually takes away the nerves. Like once you write down, because what we do is we have you go through like the last 3 days, exactly how you're going to fuel, you know, carb load, when you're going to go to sleep, when you're going to get your sessions in, and then you just writing down that plan, you can be like, there it is. I can stop thinking about it. And when I have to go back to thinking about what am I going to be thinking about, how am I going to strategize out there, you can just go to the paper. It really takes away a lot of kind of anxiety or stress going into a race, and utilize your coach for those meetings, as well as post-race analysis as well. You know, you've done the race, you want to come after the fact, and you want to kind of see how you performed, where things were dropping off, where things could be better, so that you can see where the holes were to then improve upon for your next race. So make sure you take advantage of those post-race analysis calls, and then you guys can game plan on what is the next thing that you're going to do and why you're going to do it, instead of just like forging ahead. I feel like so many people just kind of like miss that. Anyone want to add to that? And then we're just going to go to communication and the best practices. Okay, cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait. I was going to say something.
Yeah.
So what I found, so sometimes athletes will be texting me, hey, Parker, I'm going on this work trip, or I can't, do this workout XYZ. And unless it's like a workout on that day, always try to email or put in Training Peaks, because you can't, as a coach, you can't really adjust the schedule on your phone. And so if you text the coach often, they'll say, okay, I'll change it later on Training Peaks, but then, they get another text, something else happens, and they totally forget about it. So always put a note in Training Peaks or write an email. That way, the coach can adjust it while they're at the computer and actually looking at the schedule. Whereas if you shoot a text, then there's a chance that, they're going to forget about it, or something else happens.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about moving forward. So Parker kind of nailed it for us. And essentially the communication channels are text message, phone calls, emails, and comments. So what is very helpful is text messages are reserved for emergencies. And what I mean by that is something happened and you need a response that day because it affects the workout that day, or you're in a workout and you don't know what to do. And if the coach is available, they're going to answer it for sure. But if you can reserve text messages for that, that would be really helpful. If you have any long form questions or any like schedules, take that to email, because then we're sitting in our computer, we can take that and we can respond in a timely manner, and then adjust workouts as needed. If you have any questions about future workouts, I would email the coach on that. I'd notified my athletes that a lot of the times I don't check comments that you've put in future workouts asking about the workout. I'm always just looking at that day or like the day behind it. And so email your coach on any questions you have. We really want you to know what you're doing and why you're doing. So don't go in. I would go, and when you have the week ahead of you, look at all the workouts, go through each detail. If you don't know what you're doing and why you're doing it, email your coach. Okay, soon you will know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then it drives so much more intention into every single session, and you execute upon it better, be fitter. Okay, the next thing is your comments. You need to comment, please. This really helps us get to know the athlete. We feel like we have a relationship with you and we can really like grow with you together. But, we can see data, but if we can't see how you felt, how you fueled, are you carrying some stress into this workout? Any patterns that may be picked up that cannot be communicated through data, that is really helpful for us. And then I would ask if you could just leave it to that information. We have some athletes that like give us all the information of the day. Just ask like, is this important for my athlete, my coach to know? And then also like bullet pointed if you can, instead of like writing just like one smushed up paragraph. That's really hard for me personally to read. Like I would like it if it's like 4 different things. I feel this way. This is how I felt. Like give some space in between each. And it's just so much more digestible for the coach to then address and then respond. The other thing I would love to see, here's some examples of some comments, by the way. When you go into a workout, like, are your legs feeling pretty crashed from the day before? But during the warm up, they actually felt better. Like, we just want to understand, like, how are you recovering from the days before? And do we need to now extend your warm up for that specific workout based on the work you did the day before? Or is the load maybe too much? And again, because our goal is over consistency, maybe we just need to peel back some things. So that is one good one to communicate. As you go through the workout, like, yes, is you'll have like a workout with intervals. Typically someone will put it felt like a PE of 4 or a 7. We want to know what the effort is for the actual intervals, not the whole scope of the workout. So if you're doing like 8 by 5 minute threshold, well, what was your effort for the threshold? And if it wasn't just a static 8, then in the comments, write, the first 4 were easy, felt like a 6. And then the last few felt like an 8 or a 9. And then we can go, okay, well, maybe it was because you didn't fuel your workout. How did you fuel that you felt so trashed out by the end and your heart rate was so much higher that this is what we can adjust. And now you're going to feel like it's a 6 throughout. Your heart rate's going to be lower. And guess what we can do? We can now up your power for the next workout. And then now you're training in a proper zone in order to improve quicker. So important. If that feeling changes through the workout, please let me know. We do have some athletes that they actually feel better through the intervals, even though the intervals are static. So it might feel like an 8 and now it gets down to a 6. Well, that's something we need to know and we can address in your training as well. And then swimming. I would love, so who has foam goggles here? Everyone, anyone? Okay. So I don't know if you guys know this feature now, which I think is pretty amazing. And we are going to get a discount on foam goggles. Shout out to Parker for driving that home. So it was just like one of those relationships I like kept pushing off, but he was like, no, we got to get it because the new feature is your goggles can read the workout without us loading the workout. So it will literally read the script of the workout. Where it does mess up, just so you know, and you guys may have to adjust, is sometimes we'll do the warm-up set and then we'll write the total of the set up to that point. So we'll say 1600 and it will make you swim. It will say you now have to swim 1600 meters, and that's not the case at all. So just go in and take those out. We'll try to take that out as well. But that's a cool feature. The one caveat on that is you have to buy subscriptions to do that. So you buy your goggles. We're going to get it at like a really good discounted price for you guys. And then you have to pay, what is the monthly for that feature?
It's cheaper if you do the year.
By the year, yeah, I did it by the year.
I think
Yeah.
it's let's see. It is 120. No, that's the so it's $99 a year.
Yeah.
For 2 years, it's $179.
Okay.
Cheaper than Zwift.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. Okay, so that is a good option. However, I will tell you guys, I do love workout comments on swimming, because when you go into seeing the data points from these, I like to go in and look at pacing and cadence and stroke rate and all that stuff and compare there. But if we have to go through and just say you did 20 by 50s, to go down that file of that things can get lost and take us a little longer to really pinpoint the times. And we want you also very aware of what you're doing and why you're getting that pace specifically. And so if you can in the comments say, had 20 by 50 at threshold, hit 38 seconds, lost 5, dropped off to 40 seconds. Okay. And then something that I was always mindful in my training is if you're doing a descent set and you're trying to get faster, for example, you need to know exactly what you're doing in your stroke to get faster. There is a reason that is happening. And if your stroke starts to fall apart, start to be very self-aware of, why is my form falling apart? You know, have I lost tension in my core? Am I now lifting my head up all around? And that will then help guide us into maybe some sessions that we need to, or drills we need to incorporate into your training moving forwards because of these weaknesses that pop up under fatigue. So comments, and then what you're focusing on, what is falling apart, and we can help you from there. Anyone want to add to any of that on the communication?
Not really with too much communication, but this just has to do with swimming in general. If you guys have a Garmin and it's not tracking your kick sets, just Google Garmin drill mode, and that will solve all your issues. So I've had a few athletes this week asking about that in their comments. So yeah, Garmin drill mode for whatever watch you have, and then you can track your kick sets accurately.
Harold, you had something?
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys, on the comments on Training Peaks, these comments become valuable because they're going to be on your Training Peaks account for as long as you have your Training Peaks account. So for those athletes who want to stick around in this sport for a long time and you want to look back 5-10 years previous into your history, those comments that you make are going to give you a really good insight into how you were feeling and how things were going at that period of time. So I've been on Training Peaks, my personal account on Training Peaks I've had for over 20 years. So I look back on some of those comments that I made about workouts and the running history, and that is great information to have. It really gives you really good insight into how things have gone and where you're at and things that you forget over the years. So that running log of those comments are valuable for you to keep so that you can look back on them, in the years to come.
Perfect. Great. Yeah. And then the other thing, and final thing, guys, is just what we have available for everybody. And that is the Zwift rides. If you do feel like you are struggling for motivation to get up on those days, you may speak to your coach and say, you know what, I need this help. And I want to do the group workout, even though it's not specific for what I'm supposed to be doing. And then the coach can assess and say, you're not ready for that. Your body's not ready to go that hard, etc. Let's do the group workout, but let's just peel the intensity way back in this case, or just a no. But I know for me, I'm going to actually start doing the rides on Tuesday, Thursday. That's something I really, really look forward to. It makes the time fly, and you feel so much more accomplished. It's somewhere to be, right? And then you get to know your teammates, people are commenting, etc. So utilize the Zwift rides. We have on Tuesdays, it will always right now be one workout on Tuesday, Thursday, except when we have a time trial day, which we're offering pretty much every other week. Then you'll see 2 of them pop up. So make sure you're looking at both the 6 o'clock and 6:30. And why the time trial is at 6:30, this is assuming everyone's on their bikes at 6. You're doing your own warm up, and then you start the race, be it the Zwift race or the time trial, at 6:30. If you are just starting with the team, with the group ride, there is a warm-up embedded in. So know when you get on at 6, you'd go through a 15-minute warm-up, some spin-ups, and then you'd pretty much be into your main set about 20 minutes into the ride. You can always hop off earlier if you need to. It's 6 a.m. Central, so I know for some people it doesn't quite work, but for the most, I know it does. Scott, you have a question.
Hey, yeah. Going back to the swim workouts, when it comes to someone's Garmin, what are your thoughts on people continually hitting the lap button, or should people just swim and not worry about that?
Yeah, thank you. I'm not a fan of it. And it's something I always say on the deck. I'd actually love to go around with a basket and just say, give me your watches and please put it in this basket. I'm going to put it on the side and you can have them when you come back. You don't need your watch. You need to learn to go off the pool deck. You're just so much more focused in your session. But a big issue I see is someone pushes off on the wall and they hit their watch, and now they can't start off in a really good streamlined position, which sets their body and their stroke up for a really good length of swimming. Like they've already started off in a weird position. So, and then also as they're finishing, instead of like closing out the set, if it's intervals, they're like stopping the watch, and that kind of slows them down in that set. But I personally just think it's a distraction. I don't know if any other coaches want to weigh in on that. And so I would advise against it. Another thing I just want to say is instead of going off the interval on your watch, if you all want to do what like the best swimmers do, they go off a base interval. And so just basically, if you're doing 10 by 100 and you keep coming in at your threshold at like 130 pace and your interval rest is 20 seconds, what holds you accountable is a base interval, which means it's your swim time and your rest time is your base interval. And so you'll always leave on the 150 if you keep coming in on the 130. So is that code? What did Andrea, what did you say? Use the pool clock. Yes. I know Harold said, yeah, and I understand not all pools have a pool clock. So there you are excused. Then I would say in that case, maybe the foam goggles, but I know that that's a distraction too. So I have some athletes that will wear their foam goggles for their intervals, but then when it's time for like a Monday, when you're focusing on technique, they don't wear their foam goggles because then it's just a distraction on their eye. Or maybe if they're focusing on their distance per stroke, they have it on the stroke setting or metronome setting, and then they just focus just on that if they're specific for that goal for that day. Okay. Anyone have any questions? We're right at 6:30. No.
I guess one more thing for not using your watch. You guys have ever noticed that your barometer stops working on your Garmin watches, or you get wonky elevation readings? It's probably because you're pressing the buttons underwater and you're getting water into the barometer sensor, which causes your watch to start reading wonky elevations. So yeah, don't press your Garmin watch buttons underwater. Unless it's the new Phoenix 8, which then you can, but don't.
I did not know that, Parker. So if
Yeah.
who doesn't know, Parker worked at Garmin. So I always keep learning new things. Dottie, you have a question?
So if you're saying not to use your Garmin watch, so how would you record or how would you know what you swim, like your 50s or your 25s or your 100s in? I get what you're saying about just using the pool clock, but
Yeah.
how do you get your data then for training peaks?
The
So,
pool. Yeah, you wouldn't. You would just mark it off as complete, like
okay.
manually, and then you would just go in and write your comments on like, and so you'd look at the pull clock, and then you'd say 40. You know, I did 40 seconds for all those intervals, and then I would manually go type in. I swam for an hour. I did 3,000 yards, and that's fine. So
Would it throw your data off like really crazy if you just start it to swim at the beginning of that thing and then just stop it at the end?
I did that a lot too. So I used to actually do that on some swim. So I would use my watch for the beginning because I couldn't remember if I was swimming a 400, I'd lose count. And so I would actually look at it and just run it for that. And then when it was time to go fast, I would actually be so anal as to take my watch off because I knew without the watch, I would actually swim like a second faster in my mind because of the drag on my wrist. And so you could do that, or you could just like leave your watch on and just let it run. And you could get your mileage that way.
It's not so bad, Dutty, because I stuck my watch so that I look at it, but I have the foam goggle, and there's
Yeah.
a difference, but not that much.
Okay.
And it's an Apple Watch, so it has nothing to do with Garmin.
Okay.
I know.
Awesome. Sophie, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say a comment on the swimming portion of it. I've done it before because like sometimes my Garmin will just like automatically like stop when I stop swimming and it'll go to like a rest interval. So a couple times, kind of like what Parker said, putting it on the drill mode. If you know you just have like 3,000 yards to swim, you could just like scroll down, press start, and put it on drill mode. And then at the end of the session, just stop your watch. And at the end of the drill mode, it'll like ask you like how far was the drill, and you could just put in like, oh, I swam 3,000 yards, and then it'll still like put it on Garmin as you swam 3,000 yards and say it was 50 minutes or an hour, however long it took you. That way it could still be put into Training Peaks with the certain time and how far you swam, but it's not like tracking intervals. Like the clock would just keep running.
Got it. Awesome. Thanks, Sophie. Appreciate it. Parker, Dan, is it a quick explanation, Parker, for you to tell us how to fix the elevation issue? Because I have that problem with my watch.
Yeah, so once the barometer is broken, you just need to call Garmin support, and they're actually really good about it. So as long as you call them and you explain the issue, I mean, they get these calls probably daily. So just call them, tell them that, yeah, you have this issue, and 9 out of 10 times they send you a brand new watch. So
Wow.
So if I just tell him Parker told me to call,
don't, you can't mention my name.
all right.
Don't mention my name.
Yeah.
Oh no, but yeah, if you tell them, yeah, like my barometer is broken, and you usually have to show them like a file or something, so you'll have to have like a file or two ready, and then they'll probably run you through some troubleshooting steps that don't work, and then yeah, they'll usually send you a new watch.
Cool. Yeah, and then I will say if you're in the market for a Garmin or anything, just hold off. We will be getting a discount from them here pretty soon, my understanding. And then the wetsuit and swim stuff, that discount still stands, which is I think at about 35% off. And then we do have some other conversations where we'll get more. We're just kind of going through all the kit lists of what people normally get. And so hold tight. We should have like a really like robust list of like discounts of stuff you guys need. And then we also, our kits will be available. So I'm hoping to open the store. We did switch to Varlo for our kits for 2025. Varlo is also the sponsor of Miss Alice Alberts. Oh.
That's not been announced yet, but inside scoop for everyone here, I guess.
Let's take that off YouTube. Ashton, and sorry, Alice.
It's okay,
Ashton,
we're announcing Wednesday, so like my post on Instagram.
Okay, like the post on Instagram. Okay, after Wednesday, we'll post the YouTube video of our call. But anyway, yeah, we're switching to Vala. I really like their stuff. They have 2 price points. Honestly, both kits felt really good to me from the lower price point and the higher price point. So I'm really excited. They offer some other clothing stuff as well. And we should be able to order that as soon as Friday, but definitely next week. And it will definitely come before April 6th. Okay, those are my updates. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for being on the call. Have a great week.
Bye.